was the University of Washington like when you attended it?
Well, it was sort of segregated because, the fraternities didn't accept people of color at that time. And so I spent most of my social hours with the Japanese. They had a house there, the Japanese Student House, or the Japanese Students Club. And I used to park my car back there, and then we used to socialize at the house. And the kids from the students from the valley and out of town used to stay there. Or they didn't have any dorms at that time either. They had, what do you call, sort of like makeshift barracks where instead of dorms, they'd have these barracks-like structures on a campus. And some guys lived there, and some guys lived in the Japanese students' house. Well, that house was eventually sold. I mean, they changed the name of the house to Senkoa. And the acronym of Senkoa was that they took the initials of all the students of Japanese ancestry that were killed during World War II. And they came up with all these initials, and they combined the initials and came up with Senkoa. So Senkoa doesn't mean anything, but it's just a name. And eventually, at one point in time, I was the president of the club. But eventually, the house was sold to the University of Washington. And with that money, we formed the University Students Club, Inc. And we invested that money into stocks and bonds. And with that investment and the profit that we made, we put a scholarship fund for people of Japanese ancestry and now Asian ancestry. And it's quite successful. We've given away quite a few dollars in scholarships to kids of Asian ancestry on that thing. And I'm still part of that organization. And not very active, but we still meet once in a while.
What was the organization like when you first joined it, or when you were on campus?
It was sort of like a gathering place for all the people, the kids of Japanese ancestry that were from out of town and things like that. And I got to know quite a few guys from the valley, Kent Valley, and places like that. And it was sort of like a retreat, where you could get together and BS, and we had quite a few. We had some kids from Hawaii too, and the Hawaiians, they would like to stick around with Buddha heads, and so it was like a gathering place for Japanese American kids. But I think it was for a gathering place for students who were basically out of town, because the other ones, I myself commuted, but I still socialized with those guys that lived in Senkoa. And yet most of the other students who lived in the city, they formed their own clique and stuff like that. So, yeah. Well, and that, it was a fun group that we had. We used to, go out and drink beer and philosophize and stuff like that. And talk about, sometimes we talk about camp and the old days. And yeah, it was okay. Yeah.